Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'd like to talk a little bit about the recent release of the Mini 5 Pro from DJI and why you can't find one in the US and maybe why you don't need one right now. And I'll get into all that in a minute, but I'd like to start off with why you can't find a Mini 5 Pro in the United States right now. Now, I've talked about this extensively on the channel. It comes down to two things. DJI's got import indigestion over a couple of particular issues. The first one has to do with the embargo that Customs has in place for any DJI gear coming into the States. And that's based on a whole lot of nonsense about DJI using forced labor to manufacture their drones somewhere in China. And the honest truth is DJI builds most of their equipment in South Korea. It's not even built in China. They have a factory in China, they have a development engine in China, but it's not really built there. Plus, they're not at all involved in forced labor. The claims that are made are hundreds of miles away from the factory is that DJI builds the gear, so the whole thing is trumped up. The second problem they've got is there's a ban pending for December 23rd that if DJI doesn't pass some kind of nebulous security audit, they won't be able to sell their drones in the US at all, and that has to do with the FCC banning DJI from being certified to use the airwaves here in the United States. Now, the FCC right now is a politically charged organization. As I'm recording this, there have been several late night programs that have been pushed off the air because of comments that were made. And the FCC really seems like a very aggressive organization, well beyond what I think their mandate is. But I'm getting too political here, and as much as I'd love to talk about the politics, maybe I'll save that for later, or maybe I'll start another channel. Let me know if that makes sense to you. But back to the issue. So essentially, DJI is in trouble from two fronts. They've got the embargo, which means they can't bring gear in, and they've got the pending ban. Now, the embargo, again, they're releasing the Mini 5 Pro everywhere in the world except here in the United States, which frustrates all of us because I know if you're like me, you've been waiting for that larger sensor and the better flight characteristics and all the things that the Mini 5 Pro brings to the table, but we're not going to get it here in the States. It's just not going to happen. And again, the embargo and the possible ban are all based on what I'll call protectionism. I've talked about it extensively in two other clips. They're on my channel if you want to watch those. But essentially what happened was American drone manufacturers want to capture the first responder market, the military market, police, and all the rest of it. And they've started talking to people that influence the government, that they've gotten lobbyists involved and they've got politicians involved. And a lot of times what happens in Washington is if you work for one of the organizations like Department of Defense or Homeland Security, when you get a little bit older and you're ready to retire, you kind of shift into private sector and you start working for a company and you've got all those relationships back in the government that can really benefit that company. So there's a little bit of lobbying money going on where money's changing hands to go to politicians. There's relationships going on. And I wouldn't have a problem with any of that because that's the way sales are normally done, through relationships. But in this case, to exclude a company that has a product that would work really well in that market from competing in that market is just un-American. I don't think that's fair, and I really think that that should be investigated quite extensively because to me it's a major conflict of interest that a lot of the politicians that are pushing this anti-DJI nonsense are actually benefiting from the effects of that by owning stock in the companies that tend to benefit from that market being open and eliminating DJI from that competition. But those two issues are why you can't find the Mini 5 Pro here in the States. I don't think that's forever, because when the Mini 4 Pro came out and the Osmo 360 came out, both of those weren't available on launch day in the United States, but you can find them now at retailers in the States. So I think you'll see the Mini 5 trickle in over the next couple of weeks, hopefully to retailers in the United States, but for now we can't get it. So what does that mean? Well, I would argue that you may not need the Mini 5 Pro. I mean, I think it's a wonderful drone. I think it represents a major change in the way mini drones are built. It really is sort of a mix, if you will, of a prosumer level drone like the Air 3S or even the Mavic 4 Pro and a mini frame, because you're getting the 1-inch sensor, you're getting a bigger aperture adjustment, and a whole lot of other features, longer flight time, better crash avoidance. So I think it's a miracle, quite honestly, but it's expensive, it's brand new. And if you're an average consumer like me that just flies for fun, or maybe I do a little professional work, I don't really need that caliber of drone. There are other options in the market. So my argument is you can find a drone today that'll give you 85, 90% of the same exact flight experience as the Mini 5 Pro that is available in the United States. And I'll start off with the Mini 4 Pro. Now, the used market for these is alive, it's vibrant. You can certainly go out today on any of the secondhand sites and you can find a Mini 4 Pro at a reasonable price. And honestly, the Mini 4 Pro, outside of the sensor size, really gives you everything the Mini 5 Pro gives you at a discount. So you can get a really good deal on this. If you're not really into used equipment, you can go with the Skyrover X1. I've talked about this extensively on the channel, and I have a clip coming up explaining how these two drones are awful similar. They're not the same, but they're similar. So I'll get into that in a separate clip, but this one is less than $900 right now at retail. It actually dropped well below that, and it just jumped up about $100, but it's still a phenomenal value for the Fly More package. And again, it gives you everything the Mini 4 Pro gives you, and actually a little bit more, and I've talked about that in other clips, so that's a good option for you. Now, if you're just entering the hobby, and this hype around the Mini 5 Pro has got you all excited, you got to get that drone. You don't need that drone to get started. There are other drones that'll get you into the hobby at a lower price that'll give you, again, probably 70% of the flight experience. It won't give you the same video quality. It won't give you maybe the crash avoidance that you get with it. But here's a good example. This is the Mini 4K, and that gives you 4K video in a frame size about the size of what the Mini 5 Pro is. It's a couple $100. It can get you into the hobby. You've got a full controller, so you can fly this, get really good at flying, and you can figure out if drones are for you. A lot of times people buy a drone, they get out there and fly, and all of a sudden they're like, I'm not using it that much, so that's a lot of money to have something sitting up on the shelf. Personally, I don't understand that, because on a day like this, the first thing I think about when I get out of bed is, are my drones charged? Can I get out of the house early and start flying? But maybe you'll get it and you're not going to like it, so this gives you a good way to get into the hobby and get out of the hobby without spending a lot of money. But it also gives you a platform for training how you fly a drone. So if you really love it like I do, maybe you do upgrade later on to a Mini 4 Pro or the Mini 5 Pro or even a bigger drone like the Air 3S. And then finally, I want to talk about the Neo. Now, I've been flying this ever since it came out, and to hold this in my hands, I look at it and I think to myself, as I did when I first got it, it's a toy drone. It can't be anything serious. I could not have been more wrong. This drone has the brains and intelligence of this drone in it. It's stable in the air, it flies incredibly well, it can handle wind pretty well as well, and it's got a ton of automation built in. So this might be a step up from the Mini 4K that does tricks. You can fly it as an FPV, you can fly it with a gyroscopic controller. So I like this one an awful lot, and it's small and portable. It's got protected frames on it, so you can fly it in the house on those days where you can't get outside. So what I'm getting at here is you've got a wide range of choice for drones today that you can get on Amazon, you can get on one of the other retail sites, you can place an order, you can have these drones arrive in a couple of days. And the point I'm trying to make here is, don't feel like I'm not telling you to buy the Mini 5 Pro. I think it's a phenomenal drone, and if it was available in the United States today, I would absolutely have one in my hands and I'd be flying it and talking about it, because I've flown every DJI drone going way back to the early days of the Phantom, and DJI just makes rock solid products. And I was really salivating about that Mini 5 Pro until we found out it's not going to be in the US. But in the meantime, these drones that I just described, as well as a host of others of DJI products, and there's a couple of other companies out there making decent drones. I like the Hover product as well. I think it's pretty cool. You know, and a few others. SEMA makes a couple. So there are plenty of drones available, and what I'm getting at is, don't wait. Don't wait. This hobby is so much fun. And we have a little bit of weather still here in the United States before winter sets in and it gets really cold, and then it gets a little sketchy to fly. Don't wait. Get online today, pick up a drone, get out there and start flying it and having a whole lot of fun. And if you find out that you love it, the Mini 5 Pro is going to show up in the States eventually, and then you could pick that up if you need to. Now, the last part of this is, what if you can't wait? What if you're one of those people that are doing professional photography? Maybe you're doing home shoots, you're doing landscaping shots, or you're doing, I don't know, commercial work, and you really need that one-in sensor. Well, you do have options. You can go with the Air 3S, you can go with the Mavic 4 Pro, even the Mavic 3 Pro does a phenomenal job. But if you've got to get the Mini 5 Pro because it combines the smaller body with the bigger camera, which is a great combination, you're going to be tempted to start shopping on secondary sites like eBay or other sites that may offer quick delivery to the United States. The challenge I'd have there is, number one, if you buy a drone from outside the country, let's say drones in Japan, drones in South Korea, and they're both available, you can get on those secondary sites and fly them today, you're going to have issues. You're not going to have a US warranty, so you're taking your chances. The minute you open the box, if it doesn't work, you got to get a hold of the person that sold it to you. Good luck with that, back and forth with South Korea. The second problem you're going to have is that they're going to charge you a ton of money more than the drone is worth. I mean, that Mini 5 Pro, I didn't see the retail in the US because it hasn't been released, but let's say it's $1,200. Well, they're charging a premium above that. All the packages I've seen on that secondary market add at least $500 to the cost of that drone, because they're playing that arbitrage game where they can buy it locally, ship it to the US where the market can't get it, and they can charge a premium for that. And then the other challenge you've got is there are import duties. You're still going to pay tariffs. So if it's coming from Japan or South Korea, it's an average of 15% plus the other fees. So that's on top of the purchase price. And then the final thing is that the embargo that's affecting DJI could affect that drone. Now you might get lucky because it's coming from a reseller over there that isn't notified by the customs department, so that it may sneak through customs. But if they put on the invoice that it's a DJI drone, customs is going to trigger that, and that's all done digitally. It's not some guy with squinty eyes trying to read the label. There's digital records of that when they log it into the system to ship it. If they see DJI or drone, there's a good chance customs is going to yank it and send it back to the person that sent it to you. And what do you do then? Do you get a refund? Do you try and ship it again? Like, there's a lot of hassles there. So all I'm saying is, if you're going to do that, you're going to go to the secondary market, or what I'll call the gray market, which are goods that are designed for other countries that are being brought into the United States, which is legal, you're taking a heck of a risk. So my recommendation is, find a drone today, get out there and start flying, especially if you've never flown a drone before or you're looking to jump into the hobby. But if you absolutely have to have a quality drone like the Mini 5 Pro, go with the Mini 4 Pro today, go with the Sky Rover X1, and wait till the Mini 5 Pro comes, because the best thing about drones is that it's an incredibly vibrant secondary market. So if you buy a drone like the Mini 4 Pro, you can retail this on that secondary market and get a huge chunk of your money back, as long as you don't crash the drone and it's in good shape. So you could easily parlay that Mini 4 Pro into maybe the Mini 5, or I should say the Mini 4K into a Mini 5 Pro later on, capture some retail, money back from that, and put it towards your Mini 5 Pro later. So I guess the bottom line, which I've said 3 times already, is don't wait. It's a beautiful day today. Wonderful weather. We still have tons of space before winter sets in pretty hard here in the Northeast. So get out there and start flying. It's just an amazingly cool hobby. And as mad as I am about the knuckleheads that have put this embargo in place, and the knuckleheads that are chasing this ban of DJI in the United States, I still love flying so much that I'm willing to have that argument every day of the week if people want to talk about it. But for me, I think it's a wonderful hobby. It gets you out in the sun, gets you out in the fresh air. The family can fly. So to me, it's everything good about what a hobby should be. So that's all I have for today. So thanks an awful lot for watching. If you have any questions or comments, drop those in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I promise you, I have a ton more videos coming on drones like this and a lot of other really cool technology before the holidays that you'll want to hear about. So if you haven't subscribed to the Drone Valley channel, hit that little logo down there and join the Drone Valley family, because we'd love to have you on board, and I really enjoy the comments and questions we get. So that's it for today. Thanks an awful lot for watching, and as always, happy flying.